Hi, my name is Melissa Gregory Rue, and I wrote, directed, and co-produced Esperanza's Turn. So I'd like to answer the questions that you guys sent me. The first one was, what drove you to make this film? Many of my ideas come from my past experience teaching writing in community college. Some of my students were immigrants who had worked in the fields of Oregon and California when they were kids. A lot of them wrote essays about their experiences, and that got my imagination going. Child farm laborers in the USA are the least protected by law. And when we add the workplace hazards they're exposed to, toxic chemicals, hazardous equipment, it's amazing they ever make it to school at all, much less have the energy to learn anything. And that's before factoring in malnutrition. Talk about irony, right? Imagine living in fear of being deported while working hard to feed everyone else in your country. It's truly sad. Okay, next question. What roadblocks did you face? Well, I could talk about roadblocks for days. First, don't expect to be greeted with open arms just because you're making a social justice film. I tried to partner with a school drama program in an economically challenged area of my city. Well, I had no idea what I was up against when it comes to school bureaucracy. So that didn't work out. Similarly, none of the advocacy groups I reached out to were interested in working with us. Then my school location fell through a month before our shoot, and to truly complicate matters more, my director of photography backed out a week before our 3-day shoot. So I had 1 week to prepare with a new director of photography. And then before I forget to mention it, I was so ill during the shoot that I almost passed out on set. Luckily, I had some wonderful women working with me who took care of me as we got ourselves through the weekend. I didn't know what was wrong at the time with me, and it took 2 years to find out finally that I have Lyme disease. I've been in treatment for that now for 4 or 5 months. So the thing that I learned is don't give up. That is only the way to see a film through to completion. None of my films have been easy, but this one was very challenging. You have to learn to turn your roadblocks into hurdles. Okay, next question. Tell us about managing human and financial resources. Well, I self-financed this film because funding for the arts is practically non-existent in the United States unless you're already world famous. Some of my crew did volunteer and many worked at a reduced rate. I am most grateful for their contribution, and I do all I can to help further their careers. Some are professional freelancers in the industry, and they like to do small indie films for fun, because making car commercials gets really old after a while. Managing people is a huge part of the director's job, and it's critical to surround yourself with people who will work hard to realize your vision. I cast my crew as carefully as I do my actors. We had a pre-shoot meeting to show people the main set and talk about how we would be running things, behavioral guidelines, legal paperwork, and so forth. And this was my first production that I had to get production insurance for, which was a big leap, and I'm glad I took it. I also like to start every day on the set with a pep talk, kind of review what we're going to be shooting, and get everybody fired up for the day, because it takes a lot of energy. Working with actors is one of my favorite parts of filmmaking. First, I want to talk about our Esperanza. We love her, Niku. When my assistant director and I auditioned kids at a local middle school drama program, Niku was a complete standout, and she turned out to be fantastic on set. She gave us 110% every day. I know she has a bright future ahead. I'm really proud of her. In the short film I co-directed before this one, I worked with about 10 kids in a party scene while also trying to direct the principal actors. That was a touring circus. Thankfully, I learned from the experience, and I had my AD take charge of all the kids who appear in the school scenes. And she did a fantastic job of prepping them to behave professionally on set, and she got them all into character. So I've heard many directors say that kids are difficult to work with and they avoid it. I completely disagree. Frankly, I love working with kids. They bring enthusiasm and positive energy to the set, and those are key ingredients for a successful shoot. And I guess that's one of the reasons they keep popping up in my films. Okay, how different were what you originally envisioned the film being like and how it eventually turned out? Well, I'd been discussing equipment and shooting style for about 6 months with my original DP. I thought we were going to shoot on a Blackmagic camera, and we were going to need very minimal lighting, shoot in a documentary style. When he backed out and I had just 1 week to prepare with a new DP, we ended up changing everything because I believe in collaborating intensely with my DPs, and I want them to be on board with the aesthetic vision because I think you get a better end result. We ended up shooting on an Arri Alexa, which is a very expensive camera, as many of you know, and that meant all expensive new lighting. I had to rework all of the insurance policies in 1 week. It was crazy, but it ended up being worth it. I'm very pleased with how the film turned out, and sometimes that just happens. You just go with the flow. Okay, tell us about your target audience for the film. That's always an interesting question. I could give you a marketing target audience answer, but what I'll say is this. I made this film to give people hope and to warn those who are asleep that change is coming, whether we like it or not. The USA has a monumental compassion deficit. I believe that the greater our compassion deficit becomes, the faster our country will decline. We can take this moment to turn things around and begin seeing and doing something about the children we have locked up in cages on our border and the thousands of unprotected child workers like Esperanza whose labor helps feed this nation, or we can plummet into our own demise. Rest assured, no matter what we decide or do here, the Esperanzas of the world are out there, and one day I believe they will be in charge. Number 5, what are your promotion and distribution plans? Well, I plan to continue the festival circuit for a year, possibly a little more, and after that I will explore streaming options and or distribution through an educational media company. I also plan to develop curriculum to use with the film. Why should audiences watch this film? Any message you want to give emerging filmmakers? Well, Esperanza's Turn is a simple story about a much bigger fight. Watch this film for inspiration, because there is nothing more important right now than the imagination. Our ability to reverse the damage we have done to our planet and survive as a species hinges on our ability to use our imaginations to develop creative solutions. The same applies to our ability to solve complex problems and inequities in our world. Parents and teachers have a vital role to empower this up-and-coming generation to face the unprecedented challenges we have created. My advice to filmmakers is this: don't listen to anyone who tells you no or discourages you in any way. Don't wait for anyone's permission to make your film. Find a way to make it. You have a story to tell that is like no other. Tell that story. Finally, I just want to say to the festival that our entire team is honored to have Esperanza's Turn included in your program. Thank you so much for all of your hard work putting the festival together, and best of luck to all my fellow filmmakers. Please keep making films to change our world for the better. Thank you.